Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 3 Yards in a Cloud of Dust NFL podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and as always, my co host is with me, Jonathan.
Hi, guys.
Real quick, before we get started, we have an announcement to make. Before we get started with the episode, we wanted to let you guys know that we're going to be changing up the format in which we're releasing our videos for at least the next few weeks. We're trying something a little different because apparently the long format videos that we're doing aren't really getting in. They're not bringing in the views that we're hoping. So we're going to try and cut it down to at least 2 short, maybe 3 videos per week. So basically you'll get the news on Wednesday morning, and then the next day after that you'll get our discussion. And if there's another discussion that we need to cover that week, we'll have 3 videos in succession that week. And then, but for those who do enjoy the long format videos, we still will be uploading those. They'll just be going up on Saturday every week instead.
Which this will probably, me personally, I think this will actually help all viewers to really pick and choose what they want to see, what they want to watch.
Well, that
and kind of listen.
That and they won't have to dedicate 40 to 50 minutes to sit down and listen to one of our episodes.
No.
So you'll have a 10 to 15 minute news video every week, and then the next day you'll have a anywhere from a 15 to 25 minute discussion video.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to try and keep it. Or like I said, we're going to try this out for the next couple of weeks, see how it does. So with that, back to the episode. Getting into our weekly discussion. This is kind of weird, though. This is our second episode this week.
Yep.
Wow, okay. This is going to be interesting. But getting into our discussion. So first up, we wanted to recap not a fully recap. We're just going to kind of roughly go over the last week's draft. That was big. It was impressive. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah. A lot of moves happened within the draft, and a lot of people got taken we weren't expecting to get taken.
Yeah, I mean, there was a considerable number of players that we did not pick. We might have reached on a couple of our picks, to be honest. But there was several players that we had no idea, we never even thought were going to be taken in the first round that ended up getting taken in the first round. And there was even one pick that you talked me out of that ended up going the way I said it was going to, but you talked me out of it. Do you know who that was? Do you know who that was?
Andy Dalton?
No. Andy Dalton's already been in the NFL for, 14 years now?
I know.
Mac Jones to the Patriots. I told you. But you said, no, they were giving Cam Newton another shot. No, there's no reason for them to draft a quarterback.
But I was correct. They are giving him another shot.
Another shot to lose the job. You know Mac Jones is going to take that from him because he's already better than Cam Newton.
And he can cry in a little corner. But in other words...
Yeah. But that would have added to the number of picks that we had gotten right. So technically, I did get that one right.
But he still win the first round.
But yeah, so moving on. Let's actually talk about how we did do, though. Not great.
No.
I mean, a lot of our players that we had going in the first round did go in the first round.
Just 2 different teams.
Right. But in actuality, we had 3 picks. No. 3 picks. Only 3 of our picks were exactly right. Technically, we kind of had a 4th, because that would be Jalen Waddle going to the Dolphins, but we didn't have him going with the
first pick.
The 6th pick, the number 6 pick. We had him going with their second pick later on in that round, which would have been,
18.
We had him going on with their second pick, which would have been the number 18th pick.
Yeah.
We were kind of right on what they were looking for, in the fact that they were looking for a wide receiver and a defensive end.
Because they did go.
Go that way, and we got the wide receiver they were going to take correct. You know, we got Jalen Waddle going to is just in the wrong spot, and then of course
just got the edge rusher incorrect.
They took a completely different edge rusher that we didn't pick. which was a little surprising because the one that we did pick for them, I believe, was still on the board at the time.
Oh yeah.
But that's, I mean, of course we got Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson right. Those were no-brainers. I think everybody had that right. Like, it was just, there would have been some fluke if anything else had happened.
Yeah, it was either going to be Trevor Lawrence going first or going second, but he was going in the top two goals.
Yeah. Now, of course, the biggest one that we got wrong that I was actually surprised about, though, was Trey Lance going to the Niners at number 3.
Yeah, that one even surprised me because I was not expecting them to.
We had both agreed it was going to be Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And then, but we also did acknowledge that with the revelation of his epilepsy diagnosis, that it might hurt him, and it looks like it might have.
Yeah, because from everyone's boards that even we looked at, 49ers was taking Justin Fields until that news came out, and then he dropped.
Yeah, then all of a sudden it was between Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones. Well, first it was Justin Fields and Mac Jones. Then all of a sudden Trey Lance comes out of nowhere on the day of the draft, and then they ended up taking Trey Lance. I was like, okay, all right.
So,
I mean, they obviously see something in him more than what we saw. Then again, I never actually saw him play in football. I was merely going on his stats and what other analysts were saying. So that's probably a knock on my thoughts there. But, I mean, I actually did see Justin Fields' pro day, and I thought he looked pretty good. But then again, I've also been the one to say that having, just watching a pro day is not going to be very telling.
No, but I still think they picked the wrong quarterback. It's like, yes, he's a good quarterback, but I just don't think he's the right quarterback to play into that scheme.
Well, okay, from what it sounds like is they're going to have him sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for at least this year.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to wait and see. I would imagine he'll get some preseason time, so it'll be interesting to watch him play there, and I'll be watching that as well. So,
yeah, and so it's like that would be one of the teams I will be watching all preseason because I want to see how Lance does with the 49ers.
Yeah. Now, the other one we got right is Devontae Smith going to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Now, mind you, the Eagles ended up trading up to a different spot to take him, but we technically still got that pick right because with their first pick, or their only pick of the first round, they took Devontae Smith.
Which, if I am correct, they actually traded to get above the Patriots to take him.
No, they were already sitting above the Patriots. They traded with the Cowboys in order to move in front of the Giants.
That's who it was.
Because it was for 10, 11, 12, it was the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, and then the Eagles swapped places with the Cowboys in order to take.
And I knew they were switching to get in front of a team. I just couldn't remember what's the Giants or the Patriots.
Yeah. But overall, we had 13 players that we did not pick go in the first round. So 13 players that we didn't have going in the first round were ended up picked in the first round. The other 19 players that went in the first round, we had picked going in the first round, but basically only 3 right, maybe 4 if you want to count that Dolphins one with Jalen Waddle. But talking about the trades, there were some surprising moves. Like obviously the one is Philly jumping up in front of Dallas. Now, mind you, that might have been precipitated by the Denver Broncos taking Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be Denver and then Dallas, and then we had picked Patrick Surtain going to Dallas, which might have been, that would have definitely given us 4 right, because everybody was saying, and I think even all the news coming out of Dallas was they were going to take Surtain.
Yeah.
Because if I remember right, his father played for Dallas.
Yeah.
And so he was the number 1 corner in the draft.
Yeah. So
basically everything was pointing to Patrick Surtain going to the Cowboys until the Denver Broncos stole him.
Yep.
Essentially. which was huge because that changed a lot from there on out. At least changed those two picks for us. And we actually had Mac Jones going to Denver. We had come to an agreement that Mac Jones was going to go to Denver after you talked me out of him going to the Patriots.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let you live that one down.
Oh, that's fine.
At least for the next year. Especially if he starts doing good and all of a sudden the Patriots are the powerhouse of the East again.
Oh, that's going to be scary.
Oh, God.
We have another Tom Brady Belichick area.
But, I mean, if he does turn out to be that good, can you imagine what a Patriots-Buccaneers game would be like?
Ooh, that would be fun.
Ooh, yeah. Especially if Belichick can work his magic and really get some weapons for him, which he's already been working on.
Yeah, but that's also depending if Tom Brady is still in the league at that point.
Yeah. Now, the biggest surprise move that we had was the Bears trading up to the 11th spot to take Justin Fields.
That one surprises me.
Now, I remember we talked about Andy Dalton, essentially being named the number one quarterback in Chicago. I think you were all in on that one.
Yes.
But I was skeptical.
Yes.
So, I mean, of course, we already had Justin Fields being gone at that time, so I think in our mock draft. So, I mean, we had... I forget who it is.
We didn't also do any trades in our mock draft just because it was awful
True,
fun.
yeah, that's very true. But, yeah, so we had him taking a guard. We had him taking Ben Cleveland, who I don't think even went in the first round, surprisingly.
No, the first one was definitely offensive heavy.
Oh, yeah, that was probably the biggest surprise.
Because I expected at least half of them to go offense, but not as much as I thought.
Yeah. But
because I want to say at least 22 teams took offensive players in the first round.
Yeah, but what do you think Andy Dalton's mindset is right now? Now that they've taken Justin Fields, who's obviously going to be their number one guy. Do you think he's pissed?
Probably.
I'd be. Especially now, mind you, if he came in, and, if he signed with Chicago and he was the one like, okay, I'm going to be the number one guy, I'm the number one guy, all on his own, then he's got nobody to blame but himself. But if he came in, signed with the Bears, and the Bears were like, okay, you're going to be our number one guy, and then all of a sudden they draft Justin Fields, I could see some reason for him being a little upset.
Yeah, because he's not very old.
No, he's not. And the whole thing is he was a really good quarterback at one point. It's just the last couple of years, he just hasn't been that caliber quarterback that he started out as in Cincinnati.
But the question is, are we going to have another Aaron Rodgers situation with,
I think the Bears would be okay with Andy Dalton leaving if he wanted to.
No, I mean, not that section. I mean, everyone's prime, most people's prime is when they're at the top game. I'm talking about another Aaron Rodgers situation where their prime is the worst seasons.
Everything I'm hearing coming out of Chicago is Justin Fields is going to be competing for the starting job right off the bat. So there's a very good chance Justin Fields could end up being named their day one starter.
So, which would be interesting.
Yeah. There are some people that saying that he's going to sit and Andy Dalton's going to be their number one starter, but from what I'm hearing is they're still going to have him compete for that starting job, which is smart, too, because if you want to get the best out of Andy Dalton, have him compete.
Exactly.
To see exactly what he can do. If he can solidly take that job for a year and still do well with your team, then, okay, I could understand having Justin Fields sit for a year, gain some knowledge from watching Andy Dalton play.
Yeah.
And then maybe try to make that move to Fields the next year.
My biggest worry, if Justin Fields is named the number one starter, with the medical area saying of his epilepsy, of someone coming in and trying to trigger it.
Yeah, that is the biggest fear, and we addressed that in our draft preview episode.
Yeah, and so that is definitely my biggest concern with that.
So, yeah, that is a scary thought.
Because someone you already know, an idiotic fan is going to try.
Oh yeah. Somebody,
Whether of the same team or a different team, they are going to try.
yeah.
Because they
I
are
don't.
that
I don't
stupid.
see any Bears fans trying to do it. But it'll be.
I see one.
No, I don't see any Bears fans trying to do it because they want their team out of the cellar so bad. Like if Justin Fields ends up winning the number one job, they'll go with it because, especially if they think he's going to do good for them.
But if they have reason to believe that he shouldn't have the starting position, they're going to try trigger it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. There still could be that possibility of that team, of their own fan base.
All right, but okay. So a question I do want to ask is who do you think had the biggest steal of the draft, and who was it? Or let's narrow it down a little bit. Let's not even go the whole draft. Let's just say the first round. Who do you think had the biggest steal?
My feeling is with Philadelphia Eagles and Devontae Smith. He has been really good throughout college, and I have a feeling that's going to carry out into his NFL career and actually kick off his career extremely strong.
Are you worried at all about him being undersized?
No, because he's a wide receiver, he does have that speed on top of his ability to run routes, and I think he's going to be a threat from the wide receiver world just because a lot of cornerbacks are a little bit bigger than he is, and just because of his size, I have a feeling he will be able to get by those defenders a little bit easier. Just because he'll be able to have a faster false step.
My biggest concern, though, is can he take a hit? Because he is undersized for a wide receiver of his height. I mean, it is a little disconcerting because, sometimes those guys just can't take the hit and they end up being injury prone for the rest of their career.
Yeah. I'm not really too worried about him being injured or being able to take a hit because he showed from getting hit by linemen in his college days. Because there is one play in his college days that he did get hit by a linebacker when he was actually coming into a short pass. He was able to get the ball, but he got hit pretty strongly right after he made the play, and it was a strong hit.
Yeah, but linebackers at the college level and linebackers at the NFL level are still a little different. You got guys like Levante David out there. You've got guys like Nick Kwiatkowski out there who can just lay you out when they hit you. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he does have the potential to be an amazing wide receiver, and he's going to be a great weapon for Jalen Hurts. But I think he needs to put a little bit of weight on.
Yeah, he will definitely have to put on a little bit of weight, but other than that, I don't think it's really going to be that much of an issue.
I hope not.
Because if he's able to avoid most of those hits or adjust it so when he does get hits, he's able to get up pretty quick, we won't have much of an issue with it. So if he can do that, he will be the biggest steal of the draft.
Now, the biggest surprise out of the draft, and this is not even the first round, in one of the later rounds, the New Orleans Saints took Notre Dame quarterback Ian Book. Did that surprise you at all?
No, that doesn't really surprise me at all. They needed a quarterback just with Drew Brees retiring, and so
but they've got both Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston that are supposed to be basically competing for the starting job.
But getting an extra quarterback as an extra person to learn the game a little bit and kind of have that extra backup in the quarterback position, I think that's actually gonna, especially if he starts battling for the starting role too with the other two.
Do you think that's a possibility that he could be, right from the get-go, be battling for that number one spot?
I say so because I think what they're trying to do is put a fire under the two quarterbacks they already have to try to get the most out of them. And I think the way they're thinking about it is by bringing in that extra quarterback to battle for that role. No, he probably. I guarantee he won't get that starting role, but I think it's more the fact trying to set a fire underneath the 1 and 2 spots already to try to get okay who can pull out on top anyway.
Okay, but is this by them drafting Book? Is this a show of no confidence in either Hill or Winston?
No, it's it's mostly just to try to get more of a competitive feel from both of them. Try and battle for that number 1 spot.
Okay. I was just like I said, that was the biggest surprise for me of the draft. Well, I mean, obviously the biggest surprise for me was the Raiders taking a tackle in the first round when they should have taken Greg Newsome.
Yeah, but it was a little bit surprised that they
still
did.
a little salty on that one. I'm gonna be for a while, especially if Greg Newsome turns out to be the next, I don't know, Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
I think I compared that. I think I compared him to that.
Yeah.
In our draft preview, or when we did our mock draft.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think it will be interesting to see how all this quarterbacks play out. But I know he's not going to be the starter.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's going to be battling for at least the number 2 spot.
Okay. All right. So next up, I want to do who our best picks of the first round were. So who do you got?
The best picks of the first round is in round 1. I really gotta say is the Dolphins. Not because I am a Dolphins fan, but I am actually seeing this strongly.
Oh, you're gonna get called the Dolphins homer for that one.
I already know I'm gonna get called out for this one, but I really think Jalen Waddle is gonna really help the secondary a lot because he is gonna be probably one of the biggest key pieces they have on that squad now.
Okay. I mean, part of me hopes you're right. I hope they don't do well when they play the Raiders again.
But besides the
Dolphins,
Dolphins,
we're playing again this year because we both were second place teams.
But besides that, Zach Wilson would probably be the best one out.
Okay, but we're excluding Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson in this.
I'm just saying it's like Zach Wilson would possibly should have been actually the number 1 to go overall because he is definitely gonna be a little bit better than Lawrence.
Yeah, but I like the tandem that Jacksonville did with taking Lawrence and then taking his college running back.
They did a small play on that one.
So that was very smart because all of a sudden you have 2 guys that are essentially going to be in your starting offense that are already know each other very well.
You have now 3 teams in the NFL that have two teammates now that have been already played with each other.
So the biggest key is that with the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Travis Etienne is that he already knows how to take the ball from Lawrence. Lawrence already knows the intricacies of handing the ball off to Etienne.
Yeah,
so that exchange is going to be a lot cleaner than, say, a rookie quarterback coming out and having a running back that he's never worked with before, except for maybe a few weeks in the training camp and preseason. Because how many times do we see quarterbacks who don't have that rapport with their running back, and then all of a sudden on one exchange there's a big ass fumble, or the running back goes the wrong way and the quarterback turns the other, and it just ends up being, really bad.
Oh, we've seen that quite a bit, especially this last season.
But there's less of a chance of that happening now with Jacksonville, with them taking both Lawrence and Etienne.
Yes.
So it's definitely a smart play.
And then you also have Tua and his running back. I mean, his wide receiver, my bad.
Well, yeah, but that's less of an issue, really. It's nice to have somebody who basically knows the timing of your quarterback, but I think to me, it's easier for a quarterback and a wide receiver who have never been together to develop a relationship,
Yeah.
on the field. So I don't think that's going to be nearly as much of an issue. For me, the best pick of the first round, I would have to say, is Atlanta taking Kyle Pitts. Because he's such a versatile player that he's going to fit right in immediately with the Atlanta offense. They can have him as either a tight end or a wide receiver. They've essentially got their Darren Waller or their Travis Kelce.
Yeah, and that one would definitely be interesting to see how that one fully plays out.
Yeah, and they definitely, it's now it kind of makes Julio Jones a little more expendable. So if they went and moved on from him and traded him to somebody else, they've got a little bit more talent to fall back on.
Yeah.
So now that we've gone over our best picks, who do you think had the worst pick of the first round?
I really gotta say the Raiders on this one.
We're in complete agreement on that one.
They don't.
And I'm a Raiders fan, so
they need tackle, but they needed help on that offensive line, and the best.
That's what they did. That's what the tackle is. He's offensive line.
What was I saying then?
They needed help in the secondary.
That's what it was.
Because they went out and got Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. The drafting of Alex Leatherwood, while I'm not necessarily mad that they drafted him, I'm mad where they drafted him. Like, why would you use your first round pick on that? It makes absolutely no sense, especially when everybody was predicting him as a guy that wasn't going to go until like the third round anyways. I would have been okay with them taking their second round, using their second round to take him, but while I'm not upset with them taking Trevon Moehrig.
You're upset with where they took him.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could easily, I would have been more okay with them taking Moehrig in the first round, but obviously, I really wanted them to take Greg Newsome. I knew Patrick Surtain was not going to be there.
Yeah.
And I had a pretty good idea that that Caleb Farley might not be there. And, well, surprisingly enough, Caleb Farley was there. So they had the opportunity to take the second and third best corners in the draft, and they didn't.
Yeah, and
when their secondary is absolutely where they need that help.
The secondary was trash.
They've pretty much figured out their defensive line. Because with the signing of both Yannick Ngakoue and Solomon Thomas, to bolster their line, and with some of the rumors that I'm hearing that they could possibly be going after Sheldon Richardson, to help that offensive line or that defensive line even further, where they really needed to focus the draft was the secondary, and they kind of did that. They drafted 3 safeties, one that it's sounding like they're going to be converting to a weak side linebacker. But I mean, still, the fact they drafted 3 safeties.
Yeah, and
so they did kind of address it a little bit, but honestly, I think they made a huge mistake in not taking Greg Newsome.
And the one thing I'm really worried on is because how many years does Derek Carr have left on his contract? 1 or 2?
I'm not exactly sure. I think he's got at least 2 left on his contract.
I guarantee it's like if Derek Carr gets hit a lot this season, and next season because they're not willing to walk on that offensive line, he's gone. He's going to jump to another team. But
they've addressed the offensive line. They have. They did that with some of the signings they did beforehand.
Yeah, but they still have holes. That's what I'm saying. They have 1 or 2
Not
holes.
really. I mean, yes, like I said, Alex Leatherwood is a good tackle. He's a good, but he's better with the run game than he is with the pass game, and that's primarily what the Raiders are a run-first team.
Yeah.
So I understand why they took Leatherwood. I don't understand why they took him in the first round.
Yeah.
That made absolutely no sense.
So on other odds.
Yeah, so it kind of leaves me scratching my head. It's leaving a lot of people scratching their heads with the way they handled the draft. All right, so that pretty much wraps up our little draft review that we had going. it was really interesting. It was really fun getting to sit there and watch it. And I think next year we're going to have somebody else do the live tweeting so I can actually watch the draft and commentary on it while we're doing it. I really like the idea of us trying to maybe do a live show.
Yeah, it's like that
with a draft watch going in the background. If we can somehow do that, it's going to take a little help, but
yeah.
I mean, I would love to be able to do that. So that about covers it. Now, we were going to get to the Green Bay drama today. Unfortunately, we are running a little bit long, and we're trying to keep these episodes a little shorter, just so we don't lose anybody. So we don't want to make a massive episode. However, we will try to get to that either. We will have that out either tomorrow or next week. So stay tuned for that one. We'll hope to get that out very soon because there's a lot that we need to talk about. It is just nuts in Green Bay right now. And especially with Terry Bradshaw coming out and just destroying Aaron Rodgers, man, that was crazy. That was funny.
That one was funny.
That was funny. But anyways, we thank you for joining us today. We hope you continue to join us, and we thank you for all the support you guys have been giving us. We love you. We appreciate you. And until the next one, we'll see you later.
Bye.